Nggak enak kok dipegang.
Menurut Fauzi, kalau kayak
We arranged this conference in this university because for the first time the University of Denmark will give us this kind of very nice opportunity. The University of Denmark to give speech as welcoming speech for us to greet us from for this very particular meeting. So kesempatan kami berikan kepada Bapak Rektor.
Good afternoon and best wishes for all of us. First of all, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to the organizing committee who has given me this distinguished participant. Ladies and gentlemen, let me extend to all of you a warm welcome from us, from University Tulungagung. Welcome to Indonesia. Welcome to Medan. Welcome to University of Mr. Saulin Siagian, Mr. Taufan Tamani, Madam Caroline Kalenius, Mr. Septer Maluhandu, Madam Sumaito, and Mr. Longgena Giting. Guests who have traveled far and wide to share their days with Caroline Kalenius from Berlin, Germany, and out of Medan, such as from Papua, Bandung, Jakarta, Mentawai, Palu, Bogor, Prapat, Rantau Prapat, West Kalimantan, and Aceh, or other regions in Indonesia. There is to be qualified. And the last, doing the community short through publication and share activities.
Sister and brother, welcome and thank you for all of you who want to give your valuable time to come and involve in the Southeast Asian Conference. While we will discuss about bank credit. Also, thanks to the very for their support to make this conference happen. Lentera will support Combat Dewi very concerned and the land grabbing problem, especially in Southeast Asian region. And it is our expectation that from this conference we can make a real change in the community level. We believe we can make effective and great impact. Thank you very much.
Of the land grabbing in relation to palm plantation, and actually things the criminalizations and other things related to land speculations, and it's not really far different each countries that we have a similar pattern that I think we have to respond together. We see similarities, and then but we really need more. Maybe we have to highlight this today is that we have to do moving forward a little bit. Another piece that's already done from Labuan Batu. This is all the introduction of this, and I can also mention some of the activities that already done, which is I think really well connected with this. Was the So now I agree with you. I think it's the time for us to introduce ourselves. I'm Samuel Jagia for the associate lecturer in Indonesia University.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sophie Chow. I'm going to be part of the dialogue, and we'll definitely want to be kept in the loop as to follow-up actions.
And I'm working at Bread for the World in Germany on food security. And one issue that we were raising in this campaign was land grabbing.
That you can call me Yaya. I'm head of campaign and advocacy in Guwahati National Office in Greece. I've been working for our Southeast for research and advocacy for years here. You can follow this later. Thank you.
I'm also a member of facilitator teams with Saudin and Ingrid. I work with UN, United Mission, on the Department of Advocacy as a consultant for climate justice program in Asia.
My name is Benedict Nenggolan.
My name is Michael Schirmer, and like my colleague Caroline, I'm also working for Bread for the World over the last relations in Asia. Now, for the last few months, I became the advisor for looking also for common responses to this. Thank you.
My name is Cecile. I'm from HUMA, Community and Ecologically Based Association for Legal Reform, and I'm really excited to learn from your knowledge and experience. Thank you very much.
Afternoon. I'm Imam Wes Yara. We would focus to vision. We have problem with grabbing.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Dewi Aria. You can call me Dewi. I've been working in KPA, Konsorsium Pembangunan Agraria, for 6 years, and now I'm the manager program.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Florian Bartosz. I work as a co-worker of Bread for the World, and I've been working there now since 2 years, and I'm looking forward to learn from different experience. I only know the background most of you, and I hope this will change after this conference. Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Anta Karigan. I'm from Indonesia. Thank you.
I'm Jupiter Papahan. I'm working with SPPS, Study Group for People Initiative with indigenous people in Tapanuli area. Thank you.
Terima kasih, selamat sore. I am Ahmad from Wali, Central Sulawesi. Thank you.
Selamat sore. mengusulkan soal tata ruang. Nah, ada beberapa tantangan dengan cara baru pendekatan tata ruang. Kira-kira kurang lebih sekitar.
Kemudian saya menjadi tugas saya sendiri kalau saya bekerja karena harapannya adalah ada satu jalan penyelesaian dari kontroversi ini atau ada untuk permasalahan.
I'm from Bagongsu, Institution for Legal Aid and Advocacy.
Good afternoon. This is Professor Nawar, President of Uni. I'm here to support the committee. Hope I can make
Erwin Sukiwan, I'm from NKRI. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Alvin Ismail. I was the officer institute and the Malmo University. I would like to say welcome to all of you. Thank you. Mungkin saya akan sampaikan sedikit.
Actually, in the program, you saw that the title of his presentation was the Moratorium Act on Palm Oil Expansion and its implementation in Indonesia. Correct? Legislation Law number 11/2000, and then NGOs challenged from Forest People program. Focus on the. You would like to share what is the ethic and what international human rights standards engaging cooperation in social and environmental issues and palm oil and rescue experience. She will focus on why we should engage with the purposes, the benefit, advantages and disadvantages by engaging with them. And the last but not the least, we'd like to hear from Michael.
Pertama-tama saya minta maaf karena Bung Andi sedang tidak berada di Indonesia saat ini sehingga beliau memerintahkan saya untuk menggantikan beliau.
I would like to apologize because Director of Puma, Mr. Andiko, cannot attend this conference because
357 kasus, kemudian 2012 dari data KPA yang saya dapat di Sinar sekitar 59% dari 1.000 perusahaan sawit berkonflik dengan Mas Budi. Yang banyak juga kawan-kawan yang hadir di sini, ada Ibu Indri, ada Pak Sorlin, ada Ibu Fatih dan kawan-kawan yang lain melakukan judicial review terhadap Undang-Undang 18 tahun 2004.
we did already judicial review on the law of Bangladesh, it's number 18. Okay, and already
identifikasi operasi perusahaan, kemudian manipulasi regulasi-regulasi baru yang pro modal, kemudian ada desakan akibat mengadopsi balik perjanjian internasional, ada media strategi yang mengatakan bahwa ada krisis pangan, krisis energi yang harus dilakukan. Ketika ada yang tadi saya katakan adalah restorasi ekosistem dengan permintaan pihak sebagai alat untuk mengambil alih lahan. Ada dampak yang saya pikir kita semua juga tahu. Ada dampak ekonomi, dampak sosial, dan yang juga ya, pasal 21 dan pasal 47 yang merupakan pasal-pasal kriminalisasi di dalam
the reason is that it contrary to the Supreme of Law.
Kemudian membatasi hak mengembangkan diri dan hilangnya rasa aman.
Rasa aman gimana ya? Access of security, the absence of security.
Terus kemudian mengabaikan masyarakat. Dari 6 strategi tersebut, dari 6 poin strategi tersebut ada 2 yang secara utama bisa kita gunakan, yaitu satu adalah membangun lembaga penyelesaian sengketa, dan kedua adalah memperkuat kemampuan masyarakat adat. Kedua ini saya pikir bisa kita gunakan karena 4 strategi yang lainnya teman-teman bisa download di internet bahwa dokumen ini mewajibkan negara untuk membangun mekanisme penyelesaian sengketa perpaduan agraria, dan kedua adalah memperkuat kebutuhan hak asasi masyarakat adat. Putusan Mahkamah Konstitusi kita harapkan menjadi operasional karena Mahkamah Konstitusi adalah penjaga dari konstitusi, the guardian of constitution. Putusan dia adalah basis operasional bagi pelaksanaan konstitusi di dalam menyelesaikan permasalahan regulasi. Dan kemudian negara sudah menyediakan di dalam konteks kerangka akses justice, yaitu kerangka implementasi dari perintah konstitusi tersebut. Dan saya pikir hal ini senapas dengan mandat MPR 9 2001 yang berdasarkan undang-undang yang baru tata
on behalf of Ms. Maria Teres, as President of Papillon.
We're from Indonesia. We're talking about Indonesian Constitutional Court Decree on Foundation Law, Judicial Review, and National Strategic Document on Access to Justice. Next. Here are some patterns of land grabbing that we identify in Indonesia. There are 30 of them.
You will have this.
Yeah, you can see it later. Next. Yes, still a lot of patterns. And then the impacts. Well, we also identify there are 4 field of impacts that we found. The legal reasoning of Constitutional Court Decree on Foundation Law is the operational basis according to the Constitution, and we found the decree was parallel with the access to justice that have been strengthened as a commitment of our government to till now. So that's why this conference nationally actually we can do it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
The rate availability of land and the cost of labor in Southeast Asia has made the region a prime target for large-scale land conversion to plantations by both domestic and foreign investors. The economic gains wrought by palm oil business in Indonesia and Malaysia have prompted expansion in neighbouring countries in Southeast Asia who are keen to reap similar economic benefits. With global palm oil consumption predicted to triple by 2050, the trend of rapid large-scale oil palm expansion is set to continue. Asia has the palm oil production with a combined plantation area of 40 million hectares. In Malaysia, nearly 90% of the total. Indonesia overtook Malaysia as the world's largest palm oil producer in 2006, and conversion of primary forests to oil palm plantations accounts for more than 10% of deforestation in both countries from 1990 to 2010. Free, prior and informed consent is a key part of legitimacy. In order to obtain that free and informed consent prior to the approval of any project affecting the land interest is not solely a right of indigenous peoples, but all self-identified through the UN Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, the UN Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, ILO 169 concerning indigenous and tribal peoples, the decisions of the parties on the Convention on Biological Diversity, and more recently the voluntary guidelines on the tenure of land, fisheries and forests, the UN Framework on Human Rights in Business, or the Ruggie Framework that protects human rights signed or ratified by Southeast Asian states. Although I should note here that the declaration is not subject to the same criteria or obligations of the other declarations. violation of the right gives rise automatically to the right to remedy. It is often referred to as a process, a principle, or a methodology, a concept, but essentially we're talking about a human right. Free implies no coercion, intimidation, or manipulation. Prior is also about withholding it. In other cases, rights under national laws predating the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples have been interpreted to mean ethnic. I'm thinking, for example, of Musyawarah Mufakat in Indonesia. The Federal Constitution of Malaysia also accords special rights and privileges to indigenous peoples or the natives of Sabah and Sarawak. In Cambodia, there is no law which makes explicit mention of the right to ethic, although the Constitution does provide a measure of legal recognition for the international legal foundations of ethic. And in Vietnam, Thailand, Laos,
the defense panel then will discuss which process should be undertaken to solve this kind of problems. The last part of my presentation is about the advantages, but I haven't put it there yet. So I think, so what is the objectives? Of course, when we want to engage cooperation, we want to address the social problem, resolving the conflicts, changing the behavior, and also indirectly influence the government's institution. One organization putting pressure at the outside, but there should be also organization that is ready with the resources, with the person. Sounds like, makes sense, but it's very difficult to do, and it needs process to do.
Okay, Caroline, actually you last question.
And would it not be in the end faster to change the government?
So, for example, with the moratorium that we have now, how in the NGO coalition in Indonesia asked the government to have a review of all existing concession permits before they do the moratorium.
Contrary things that we want our land, and then we want them to go on our land. So, and a lot of victims already accused, and we have to make our enemy, how come it's because in experience really that if you meet Sinarmas in game or want to engage, for example, to RSPO, for example, because we hope there are many people that already hurt a lot. So how to do it?
After three very substantial and interesting presentations, it's now a fourth one, and I hope you can still concentrate for some more minutes. I have prepared a paper of 9 pages. I've heard already some interesting responses, I would say, to criminalization. I'm just reflecting on it. There is a constitution, not only the Indonesian, but also others, and they give a lot of room also to fight arguments and so on. I'm not only talking about land grabbing. I'm not the expert. Unfortunately, it has to be said that this is only one side of the truth, especially in the new millennium. And I would say even related with the terrorist attack 9/11 against the Twin Towers, there was a gradually change of perception and more mistrust against civil society actors. In some parts you can work freely, in others you cannot. But it is an increasing dangerous pattern, and I will explain why. Well, I will come to this, but I want to focus also that how we come into this topic, we realize that not only by working for political and civic rights, for instance, demanding free and fair elections, organizations become criminalized. Interestingly, by very basic duties, working for land rights, working for food, for water, organizations which don't see themselves as political organizations become criminalized, especially in the area of land, which is in connection with agribusiness, but also that's a huge phenomenon as well in the extractive industry sector. This might be an interesting link also between you and other organizations. So sometimes governments try to play a game against NGOs. There are, at one side, service-providing organizations, which are the good ones, or which are the ones which are accepted. And at the other side, the critical NGOs, which are more and more excluded. So, organizations which are working for land rights, local community rights, clean environment, and so on. In 2009, therefore, we have, together with a number of other organizations, drawn or organized a study where we wanted to see in different countries what it means, what is the political framework in the countries. In more than 10 countries, we did these country studies on shrinking political space, where mainly countries in Latin America, what happened in Cambodia, which happened in Indonesia as well. And where can you reflect on what needs to be done?
ITs and local communities, as well as a number of other voluntary standards. So while in international law it's, a lot of
participant from Medan, not from Indonesia. Medan participant to stay at home because